Now that you've had a chance to look at the feedback that other students gave you and you've seen other students' work, you can now start to work on really refining and getting this thing really looking good. Now, this sheet right here is the very detailed City College rubric that they're going to use to evaluate your overall work for those that are submitting this year. Now, a couple of key things, the same requirements that I've told you before. You're doing 4 pages minimum, so that's 4 pages, 2 spreads. And then you're going to do it off of the magazine that you created in the first project. And then right here, the first one should be an opening spread where it's mostly an image and some large text, and then the second spread where it's mostly body copy. 8.5 by 11 used InDesign, and the way they're going to look at it, there's a ton of details. So I'm going to go through this relatively quickly, and then I'm going to put together shorter videos to explain how to actually do the pieces they're looking for. So this is the rubric that they're using for the magazine spread. So with the body text, the text size should be between 8 and 10 points. That's the first one. So that's the font size. The leading should be about 1.2 to 1.8 times the text size. Right now, you probably have it set to the default setting, but I'll show you in another video how to fix that. The column width should not exceed 70 characters, so not too long. And then it should be very readable, meaning that the text is not a really funky font that's difficult to read. Then for typographic errors, one of the big ones they're looking for are what are known as widows and orphans, and they're taking off, there's only 1 point to earn in the typographic error. So that essentially means if you get 2 things typographically wrong, you've lost that full point out of the 12 points that they're giving. For the indication of paragraphs, it should be either through an extra line, like extra spacing, or an indent, but not both of them. And I'll show you ways to do that in another video. And then that hierarchy should be a clear difference between your title, your headings, those are the subheadings, your body copy, and any other text styles that you're using, like if you're using captions or if you're doing something with a pull quote. Now, as far as the layout, they're looking to see that everything is aligned to the grid and that margins are kept consistent between pages. I'm going to go even further and say you should not have the default margin settings. If you have a 1/2 inch at the top and a 1/2 inch at the bottom, you should probably fix that because that's not exactly what I'm looking for. So I'll show you a way to do that. For the folio, it needs to have a page number and at least one other piece of information. That other piece of information traditionally is going to be the name of the magazine. So make sure that it's consistently there and the page numbers are on the outside of the pages. And then the page sides need to be 8.5 by 11. Now, as far as the images, the style, they want to have that it's a consistent color, the tone, and overall style that's appropriate for your magazine, that you have high enough resolution so that it does not look pixelated or blurry, and that the color palette that you're using is attractive and applied consistently. I'll show you in a video how you can actually pull colors from your main image in a different video. Now, here's an example of one that they had that they gave 11 out of 12 points. And then they explain what the error was. This is one for what's known as hanging quotation mark. It's changing it so that you have optical margins. I'll show you in another video how to fix something like that. It really comes up primarily in your pull quotes, but it can show up in your body copy as well. So I'll show you how to do that. They also knocked off 1/2 point here because there was extra space and an indentation. So it should be one or the other. Here's the one that they gave a 9 out of 12. So this one would have been a B. Some of the things that they knocked off on this one, again, were the hanging punctuation. That quotation that's right there should be slightly kicked out. Again, I'll show you in another video. That here, there were multiple instances of extra spacing. Oh, no, that one's a widow. That one's a widow. And that one's a widow. So those are ones when you have a one word at the end of a paragraph. They really, for some reason, hate that part of it. The main reason is it creates this large amount of empty space. I kind of joke with them that they hate the widows, but that's really the main thing is there's this weird empty space that's showing up. And then get down here. And here's the one that's got a 6.5 out of 12, which would not have been a passing one. Some of the issues here The color palette just does not match up well with this. The image itself is kind of pixelated. When you look at the edges, they're pretty pixelated. There's not really much of a difference between the font size of your main heading and your information about the text, like the deck. I don't know why it keeps going back to that first one. And then on this particular piece, there is no folio. So they marked that off. They marked off the fact that there's inconsistent lengths of text. So when you look at this one's really long, this one's shorter, and this one's a little bit longer than this one. So there's not an application of the grid. Here's again, they're really harping on the hanging punctuation on this particular piece. And one that they didn't mark that they should have is this one is not a drop cap. A drop cap, that's just a font that's bigger. A drop cap needs to drop down into the body of the main text. So that is another issue with that one. So I will show you in a different video how to go through and correct each of these, as well as a couple other little things that I think will help make your overall spread look better and stronger for you.